Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone around the globe. Uh, today, we are heading a community day session on elevating Salesforce DevOps to DevSecOps. So we are your hosts. I am Akshay Sharma, a DevOps specialist working in PTC India office. I have along with me like two wonderful hosts, Gabriele.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm Gabriele, head of customer success at Clayton. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, hi. It's Andrea Pellegatta, senior software engineer at Clayton. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah. So thank you to all our sponsors and thanks especially to Copado for hosting this community event for the second time. Let's dive deeper into the session. For our session's agenda, we'll be covering what exactly is DevSecOps, why do we need DevSecOps, and for Salesforce environments, how to achieve DevSecOps. Then we'll have a very wonderful demo on Clayton, which is an AI powered tool which will help you to transform your journey from DevOps to DevSecOps, and then we'll have a demo integrating that to Copado as well. So without wasting further time, let's start with DevSecOps. So the term DevOps, which is coined as like a practice between the developer operations and QA, which is itself is a process to make sure your deployments and your release management is very smoother. Now, within past 2 3 years or in these tiring times, we often hear about security very often, and this is where the DevSecOps terms which arises. So, what is DevSecOps? It is nothing but a practice of indulging your security practices into your current software development lifecycle. So, what happens today in a traditional software deployment process? We often treat like security as a siloed mechanism, like something which is already been developed, and then after some time or something which goes to production, then we think about like security has to be integrated here. But with the help of DevSecOps, what we're trying to aim is how can we shift that pattern to left? That means whenever you start doing your development, how do you integrate security as well when you do the other aspects of like normal testing or the other mechanism? So putting the security aspect in your software development lifecycle becomes a DevSecOps. So DevSecOps again is not a technology, it's a process, it's a practice which will come when you actually follow certain processes, rules, or depending upon your organization. So in a DevSecOps model, if you see the DevOps world, which is enhanced from DevOps, like Dev, QA, operations, and all the security models are added here. Like you can do the threat modeling, you can do extensive logging, analysis, response, recover, which is all your security mechanism. Now, what is the need of DevSecOps? So, first and the foremost thing is security threats are very much increasing. With the tiring time of COVID, like it's been more than 3 plus years, when majority of the environment is working from home and not from office. So we've seen many cyber attacks. So these cyber attacks are becoming a top-notch concern for every company, and this is where you have to protect your data. And in Salesforce, data is like very important aspect. The second point is like faster time to market. Everyone wants to deliver the product very fast to production. Tomorrow you'll receive a requirement and you'll have a sudden deadline that we want this product in production like within 1 week, 2 weeks, or 1 month. So this faster time to market is very much increasing, and with the help of DevSecOps you can actually achieve this. The third point is collaboration. Now that with the DevOps, you were doing a good collaboration between developers, operations, and QA. With the inception of DevSecOps, we can also include the security teams right from the beginning of a product is being defined. So that is going to give you the better collaboration. The fourth point is reduced cost. With like security implementing in a siloed or like a traditional software development process, often security is treated at the end. This like creates a lot of cost. So something which goes to production and later on you try to put a lot of cost in like trying to fix those problems. The last one is compliance requirement. So every company has their own compliance requirements that must be met. And with the help of DevOps, actually DevSecOps, you can actually meet these compliance requirements like we have in Copado. We can implement the compliance rules depending on your profiles, permission sets, and etc. So these are the need of DevOps. Now, how do we achieve these success factors with the help of DevSecOps, or how do we like operationalize the DevSecOps model in your company? First thing and the foremost is you have to identify what are your needs, like security requirements, like what exactly you want to protect, on what level you have to protect it. And once you finalize the requirements, then you have to actually put the security controls on it. So let's say tomorrow you define a data which you need to protect, like is that going to be a PII, like personal identifiable information data, like what level of masking you have to do, what level of encryption on the data you have to perform. So those are the security controls you have to implement. Third, you can integrate the security testing into SDLC. With the normal testing, implementing security like security penetrating testing and other robust security level of testing, once you integrate that into your software development lifecycle model, you can achieve DevSecOps. The fourth point is like how do you achieve that in CI/CD pipeline? So this is where our demo will lie. Like how can you implement a CI/CD pipeline and make sure you inject the security tools such as like Clayton, what we are going to see today, like how that is going to give you the automated results of violations on security, so that whatever code you are building, so that code does not go to production with any issues. And the last and the foremost important thing is training and awareness. As I said previously, DevSecOps is not a technology, it's a process. It's been built by people. So a lot of times training and awareness is very much important, that this particular thing has the utmost priority than your feature. So sometimes what happens, we are often busy in delivering the feature and we tend to forget what can happen once this goes to production. So this is where this training and awareness is a very much important aspect in it. Moving ahead, like I'll invite Gabriele to cover the Clayton part.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Akshay. Before introducing Clayton, I would like to show you a quick demo. I would like to very quickly mention three important points that were particularly kind of important for us when building the tool. First is that security testing is integrating into the agile development process. Then security is also a built-in process rather than applied to a product, rather than applied to a finished product. And lastly, every commit and merge automatically trigger a security test. With those core concepts in mind, and actually you can move to the next slide, we built Clayton, which is a Git-based code review tool dedicated for Salesforce engineering teams. It's a tool built into Git. As we consider Git the source of truth, we can act as a quality gate and stop bad code and security problems before they cause damage. We also use AI not only to detect with high accuracy problems in code, but also to propose fixes to the problems so then developers can quickly resolve bugs. We also provide a comprehensive solution to track code improvements over time and also show kind of monitor your security posture according to the most common industry standards like the OWASP top 10. So you can see how your code health is evolving over time. And lastly, Clayton is a tool exclusively dedicated to Salesforce, created by CTAs. We publish regular updates on our code review policies and rules to help teams stay on top of Salesforce releases automatically. With our Copilot integration, you can go to the next slide, Akshay. What we help developers is validating user stories in real time. So then you can stop a bad code error in the pipeline. And this is actually what we'll see in a moment in our demo with Andrea. If you go to the next slide, here you can see Clayton proposing fixes to problems detected in code. So then you can eventually review them and accept the fix eventually very quickly within Clayton. And lastly, if you go to the next slide, actually, here there are a couple of snapshots of our security dashboard where you can see the OWASP top 10 category and how Clayton is covering you from those most common problems out there on the internet. Andrea, could you please help us in showing a demo of Clayton?
Sure, Gabriele. Okay, so you can see my screen.
Yes.
So let's start the demo, and we log into Copado, and we want to create a new user story, which is basically what most developers will do once they are on Copado. So here I click on new, and as you know, we select user story, and we fill some basic information we have to fill in order to start with the user story. So here I will say Copa Community Day user story, and I will add just a few information, such as the project, the environment where currently I have my objects committed, which is step 2, and that's enough. Okay, so as part of the story, now we want to commit a few objects because are part of the story development. So what we do is we commit, so we click on commit changes, and here what we want to do is to select the objects involved in the user story. For example, we have implemented a new geocoding service with this test, and we might also want to add some other classes just because it would be nice to see more violations showing up afterwards. So let's select all these objects. So now we click on commit changes. And I mean, as you might know, this step requires sometimes, as Copado has to retrieve the last snapshot, and it has to create a Git feature branch of the user story. For example, this will be US 57. And yes, so this requires some time, but at the end of this, as part of the Clayton for Copado integration package, we have introduced a trigger that basically starts a flow that calls via API our Clayton scan API in an asynchronous way. So now, as I said, this requires time. So while we wait for the full integration and let's say then see the full demo in place, I'll then switch to an existing user story because I want to show you the result of that. So I click on this story, which was previously created with, I would say, the same objects, more or less. So the integration points can be found in the related entities. And the first one is the result. So as you know, the result object is the object dedicated to integration with third-party systems. So whenever we trigger a scan towards Clayton, we create a record in here, which inside it contains information such as the start time, the end time, and we also give brief information of how the scan was. So if it was passed or not passed. For example, here not passed means that there were at least vulnerabilities, for example. If it was passed, there were no violation. And together with this, we also give an external link to our platform. So by clicking to it, we can see the full report inside our platform where we see what we call policies. And in each of the policies, we see the rules. And then if there are inside the rules, you can also see the violations. So let's go back to the result. The second integration point is still on a related entity where you can see more information. Here we just saw it was passed, not passed, but in the static code analysis result entity, such as this one, you see, first of all, you get an overview where you see the number of violations, but then most interesting are the violations themselves. So on the right, you can click on view all, and then you see what Clayton has discovered. So those information were fetched from the integration by calling an API on the Copado side. And we publish our metadata, such as the file name, the line, what was the rule. Priority for us, it's what we call severity, so critical error warning. This is 1, 2, 3, where 1 is critical. Then the message we publish, and another important information is we also publish a link, which is represented by an info icon here. But by clicking it, you jump again on Clayton, where you can see additional information on the violation, such as what was the author, the project, the code snippet. You can also get other information such as resources. There you can see why it was a problem, how could you prevent in the future such error. And then you also see a time like a blame, when was detected the first time, and so on. This information could really help you to build the quality gates in your solution, and to then, let's say, stop the pipeline as soon as there are security issues. Now, as I said before, we have started a new user story. So here, if we go back to Clayton, under the diff changes, we see that what we started before is completed. That means if we go back to the user story list, it was the 57, we can see under the related the two integrations I mentioned before. So here we see that the scan was successful. And under the static code analysis result, we see the number of violations and the violation themselves in here. That's it for the demo. I think now it's probably time for question and answer.
Yeah, so this was the part of demo, and everyone, you have seen the tool capability. Like you can see the data what is shown to you. Like even if there's any violation, Clayton also provides you an insight, like how do you fix that violation. It also provides you the good documentation. Let's say if there's any SQL injection, how exactly you can fix it, and how much time it will take you to fix it. And like coming back on elevating this, so now that you have the data in Copado or user story record, and everyone knows like Copado can be customized according to their need and business. So you can use this result object as well as static code analysis result object in your current DevOps pipeline. And the overall idea here is, if there's any violation present, uh, we want to fix that violation before something a story is deployed to the next environment. So this is where we are taking like security as like the utmost priority. And Clayton is not only doing security violations. Clayton is much more to that. It's doing like a deep level of backtracking to all your metadata as well. So let's say if you have modified one class, one line of code, it's going to backtrack all the components related to that part, and it will give you all the violations as well. So that's the beauty of Clayton. And this is where, if you have a normal DevOps process where you just deploy your changes from one org to another org, this is where you can improve security aspect in it. And it is like a completely automated process. And it does not need like a manual reviewer. So that's the overall idea here.
I guess there are a couple of questions regarding how this is different compared to PMD. Maybe I can take this very
Yeah.
quickly. So what Clayton does is more than linting line by line code. We use things like source of sync analysis, taint analysis, and control flow graph to detect things like if you have a kind of a DML in loop, typically linters can recognize those problems if they are the method that is kind of the SQL statement is directly written in the loop statement. If you move the loop statement, the SQL statement in a method outside the loop, but you still call this method in the loop, this kind of becomes kind of invisible for linters. What we do is we follow the method, we verify if this method contains whatever contains or not any SQL statement. If this is the case, we raise a violation. So we again, we don't simply lint line by line and try to detect the problems. What we do more. And typically, taint analysis, control flow graph, and source and sync analysis is our kind of algorithm and logic we use behind the hood to detect violations with high accuracy. I hope that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and also like with PMD, like you have like very much limited set of metadata support available. Like you cannot scan all the metadata items which are supported by Salesforce. For Clayton, you can almost scan even the declarative development as well, like flows, process builders, validation rules as well, which is not supported directly or without any customization in PMD.
Yeah, that's correct. It's true. Because we are kind of aware of how the entire application is coded, we can detect things like, imagine if you kind of flag a specific information as sensitive, and then you log this information publicly, we can identify that this information log was kind of configured as sensitive in your metadata, and we can eventually raise a violation, say, you log a sensitive information here, please review this. This is the type of detection we can provide. Yeah. And about other tools, I see SonarCube and other. I think it will be kind of maybe better if we reach out kind of directly, so then we can give you kind of more detailed answer. I don't have a kind of good information now with me, but I will be sure to provide more information if you reach out to us
Yeah.
on a different channel.
Yeah, overall, like, so it does like a lot of backtracking, and it's more powered
Correct.
on the AI side, wherein other tools are like, sometimes they're not dedicated to Salesforce and not built on Salesforce, and they lack the backtracking mechanism as well.
Correct. Okay. I'm not sure if there are any other
Yeah,
questions.
if there are no more questions, feel free to reach out to us through LinkedIn or Copado community. Thanks everyone. Thanks Gabriele. Thanks Andrea.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.